Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're going to be talking about how we can graph what's known as a proportional relationship. So when you graph these, you're going to notice a couple of things. Number one, it's linear. So that means when we graph it, it's a straight line. But also, if we were thinking about the equation, we should be able to write it in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. But what you're going to quickly notice is that your b, your y-intercept, is actually 0. So the graph, when you go to plot the points, it's going to go through the origin, which turns out to make your y equals mx plus b equation to just be y equals mx, okay? So let me fix my circle there, y equals mx, and that means that we have our slope, which will be represented by m, and that's also known as the constant of proportionality. So when we graph it, if we look at this image right here, we see that we have our line going through the origin, so we have 0, 0, and then we have 1 comma m, which would be our constant of proportionality, also known as unit rate, or you could think about rate as well. And then just in terms of slope-intercept form, that would be our slope, okay? So what are we gonna do with this type of equation or this type of question? Lots of times it's gonna be word problems, and it's gonna be things where you're buying items at a certain price. So, you know, if I don't buy anything, then it costs me nothing, right? It costs me $0. So if I buy one item, maybe it costs me, like in the example we're going to look at, $4. If I buy two, it's $8, so on and so forth, right? So we could say, okay, how much is it per one, right, for each unit? And that's going to tell us what is the price for one of those items, all right? So our example says the cost y in dollars to buy X cheeseburgers is represented by y equals 4x. Graph the equation and interpret the slope. Well, if we wanted to quickly graph it, let's just think about a couple points, right? Well, we would say 0, 0, right? Because if I plug in, you know, y equals 4 times 0, we would get y equals 0. So that's 0, 0. Let's say we want to plug in 1 for x. So y equals 4 times 1, that would be y equals 4. So that's 1, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? And now, as you can see on my coordinate plane, if we keep going, my next point, if I plug in 2, for x would be 2, 8. Well, I didn't make my coordinate plane large enough, tall enough for that point to fit there. So you could just kind of imagine where it's going to go, right? Now, let's say just for the purpose of the video, we wanted to go the other way. We wanted to go a negative x value. So let's say we did y equals 4 times -1. That would be y equals -4. So that's -1, 1, 2, 3, -4, okay? So now let me draw our line in here. I might have to, oh, actually that's pretty good. Okay, so now this graph right here does represent y equals 4x, okay? We have a slope of 4, right? If we wanted to check it, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, so a 4 over 1 for rise over run, that would be a slope of 4. But remember what we're trying to represent. We're trying to represent cheeseburgers. So x represents cheeseburgers. So if I have 0 there, that means I didn't buy any cheeseburgers, and my y is my cost in dollars. So if I buy 0 cheeseburgers, I don't have to spend any money, so 0, 0. If I buy 1 cheeseburger, it costs me $4. 2 cheeseburgers, $8. 3 cheeseburgers, $12, so on and so forth. But let me ask you this. Can I buy -1 cheeseburgers? No, right? It doesn't make sense. So a lot of times in these unit rate or these proportionality problems, you're only going to see the first quadrant number 1, right? There's 2, there's 3, and there's 4. You're only going to see the first quadrant graphed because you're not going to have any negative x values, right? So if we don't have any negative x values, well, we're not going to have any negative y values either, right? Now, most often, okay? So I could actually erase this. Let's take that. If you notice, I actually did that at the same time. Let's take this -1 point away, right? Because we're not going to buy -1 cheeseburgers. It doesn't fit in the context of our problem, right? If you got a question that said, hey, graph y equals 4x, and there's no context, no word problem, it's just y equals 4x, then by all means, you can graph -1, -4. But in this context, x is supposed to represent cheeseburgers. So if I graph -1, -4, that means I buy -1 cheeseburgers, and it just doesn't make sense, right? So that's why we don't include it. So I'm just going to start here at 0, 0, and I'm going to go up in the positive direction, both in my positive x values as well as my positive y values, okay? So that is the equation graph, and it says to interpret the slope. The slope, remember, is our m value. So in this case, m is 4, And that just represents that it's $4 for each cheeseburger. We'll just call it a burger, okay? So $4 per burger, and that's what our slope represents. That's how we would graph it, and that's a little bit about how we can graph proportional relationships.